The revolt of the Altishahr Khojas was an uprising against the Qing dynasty government of China, which broke out in 1757 during the reign of the Qianlong Emperor. The rebels were led by the younger Khoja Hojijan, leader of the White Mountain Sufis. Qing-era documents refer to the event as the pacification of the Muslim regions. Hojijan and his brother, the elder Khoja Burhanuddin, were members of the Central Asian Muslim duo clan. After the Qing pacification of Dzungaria in 1755, the Khoja brothers were released from Dzungar captivity, whereupon they began to recruit followers in the western regions around Altishahr. Not long afterwards, the Khoitoira Prince Amor rose up against the king, and the Khoja brothers used the opportunity to seize control of the southwest part of Xinjiang. In 1757, Hojijan killed the king vice-general Amindao. Qianlong retaliated the following year by sending troops to locations including Kuka County, Yeqiang and Hotan, to attack the duo brothers. In 1759, the rebel army fled west through the Pamir Mountains to Badakhshan, where it was captured and destroyed by the ruling Sultan Shah, causing the revolt to subside. With the revolt pacified, the king completed the reintegration of their territory in one of Qianlong's 10 great campaigns. The end of the conflict saw the restoration of the territory south of the Tian Shan to Chinese control, meaning that the king now controlled the whole of Xinjiang. After the appointment of an Altishahr Grand Ministerial Attaché, the Xinjiang area remained peaceful for the next 60 years. Background: the White Mountain Khoja and the duo clan. The ancestor of the Khoja brothers was Ahmad Kasani, also known as Makdumi Azam, the great master of the Central Asian Naqshbandi Sufi sect. Kasani claimed to be the descendant of the Prophet Muhammad through his daughter, whose offspring were known as the Khojas. The family was in turn divided into the Black Mountain Khoja and the White Mountain Khoja. Together they were known as the Altishahr Khojas. In the middle of the Ming dynasty, the Black Mountain Khoja received approval from the ruling Yarkand Khanate for the Altishahr or Tarim Basin area south of the Tian Shan range in the western regions to convert to Islam. In the mid-17th century, the White Mountain Khoja leader Muhammad Yusuf Khoja came from Central Asia to Kashgar to Proslitsa, only to be driven out by the Yarkand Khanate and the Black Mountain Khojas. Yusuf Khoja's son Afaq Khoja escaped to Hezhou in China's Gansu province. From there, he went to Tibet to obtain the support of the 5th Dalai Lama and the Dzungha Mongols under Guldan Boshuchu Khan. In 1680, during the reign of the King Kangxi Emperor, the Dzungas under Guldan Boshuchu Khan, with the help of Afaq Khoja, invaded Yarkand and deposed the ruling Khan, Ismail Khan. Galdan then installed Abdar Rashid Khan II as Khan of Yarkand. Afaq Khoja soon afterwards fled from Yarkand following discord with the new ruler. 2 years later, in 1682, riots erupted in Yarkand, causing Abdar Rashid Khan II to flee to Ili. His younger brother Muhammad Amin then became Khan. The riots of around 1682 led to the overthrow of Muhammad Amin Khan by the followers of Afaq Khoja, whose son Yahya Khoja became the ruler of Yarkand and Kashgar. 2 years later, Afaq Khoja died and the Kashgar region sank into a civil war involving the Yarkand Khanate, White Mountain Khoja, Kashgar and the local begs. After Su Wang Ratan succeeded to the leadership of the Dzungar Khanate in 1697, he imprisoned the descendants of the Altishahr Khojas in what is now known as Ili Kazakh Autonomous Prefecture. When Guldan Zeren came to power in 1727, he gave Black Mountain Khoja Dania responsibility for the political and economic affairs of Yarkand and Kashgar. At the same time, Afaq Khoja's grandson Mahmud died in captivity. Afaq's second grandson Burhanuddin, the elder Khoja, was imprisoned east of Yiliatel and Habarurga in the custody of the local Dzungar tribal administrator Orzay Sang, Obaygazi, and his brother Hadan. Dawachi and Amor split after Guldan Zeren died in 1745. The Dzungar Khanate fell into internecine warfare. In the end, Dawachi, who was the grandson of Kongtaji Suang Ratan's cousin Sering Dondup, became Khan. His comrade in arms, Taisha or Prince of the Khoit Dzungar tribe, Amor was richly rewarded for his loyalty. However, in 1754, Dawachi and Amor quarreled and the latter defected to the king, taking with him 5,000 soldiers and 20,000 women and children. He then demanded permission to travel to Beijing and seek the emperor's assistance in defeating Dawachi and retaking Ili and neighboring Kashgar. Amor persuasive manner and Qianlong's ambition and love for military renown meant that in the end he agreed, throwing in a princedom of the first degree, which entitled Amor to double stipends and privileges, as a bonus. Surrender of the Altishahr Khojas in the first lunar month of 1755, 2 units of the Qing army, each consisting of 25,000 men carrying 2 months of rations per man, entered Dzungaria from 2 different directions to destroy Dawachi's army and retake the territory. The Northern Route Army under Commander Bandai comprised border pacifying Vice-General of the left-wing Amor Amban Si Batang Balez Hua and Mukden Commander Alantai, while border pacifying Vice-General of the right-wing Salar and Minister of the Interior Erongan formed the Western Route Army with the West pacifying General Yongchang in command. The 2 armies linked up at Bolo-Otalar. During the subsequent march, Abagazi and Haddon among others surrendered to the Qing forces. On 8 April 1755, Burhanuddin surrendered to Salah's Western Route Army saying, at the time of Guldan Zeren, "My father was imprisoned and thus far I have not been released. I will bring perhaps 30 of my households to surrender to the emperor and become his servants." Not long afterwards, the younger Khoja, Hojijan, surrendered to Bandai with Haddon. In May, Qing forces entered Huocheng County in Ili. Bandai planned to send Burhanuddin to Beijing for presentation to the emperor, while Hojijan would be kept in Ili in the care of the nomadic Muslim Turanchi. The Uzbek Khojas received orders from Bandai to establish sentry posts on the mountain passes into the Tarim Basin. When a further order to prepare for war arrived, Khojas' troops hid in the woods while his younger brother was dispatched to take wine and horses to Dawachi, who when he arrived was seized along with his men and his son Lobja. The prisoners were then escorted under guard to the Qing barracks by Khojas and 200 of his men. Dawachi's capture effectively marked the end of the Dzungar Khanate. At the same time, Kashgar Black Mountain Khoja Yusuf marched north. Aksuzakimu Beg Abdqabu suggested to Bandai that the Qing army send an emissary along with them during the transport of the Khoja brothers to Kashgar. Abodu Guabo further announced his appointment as ruler of the area at the behest of Qianlong. As a result, Bandai dispatched the imperial bodyguard, Tuolantai, and Khojas as protective escort on the journey south to Kashgar and Yarkand. Hojijan was to remain in Ili to supervise of Khojas clan. Troops would gather at Yugchurpan County to defeat the northern Black Mountain Khoja, then head south. Once in Kashgar, Akimu Beg would take the surrender of the city. Although Xinjiang's Black Mountain Khoja leader Jiahan Khoja, also known as Yakupu, and Yusupu's eldest brother, put up a fierce defense of Kashgar until he was finally killed. Amor revolt with Dawachi on his way to Beijing as a captive. Amor now saw an opportunity to establish himself as the new Dzungar Khan with control of the 4 Oirat tribes of Dzungaria. Qianlong had other ideas. The emperor knew that Amor had long had his sights set on Dzungaria but had not dared to do anything rash. As a result, before the military expedition to Ili had set out and fearing the rise of a new Mongolian empire, Qianlong had proclaimed that the 4 Oirat clans of Dzungaria would be resettled in their own territory, each with their own Khan appointed directly. by Beijing. Amor spurned the offer of kinship over the Khojas and told Bandai to inform the emperor that he wanted control of all the Oirats. Amor received orders to return to Beijing, but sensing that if he left Ili he might never be able to return, on 24 September 1755 he escaped from his escort en route to the Qing imperial resort at Chengda and returned to Tarbagatai, 400 kilometers east of Urumqi. The Ili's Asang chief and his lamas then seized the city. In the chaos, Hoji Jan led a band of Urkha and escaped from the Ili basin. Other White Mountain Khojas imprisoned in Dizug area including Izia and Mamut were unwilling to follow Hoji Jan and instead fled to Kokandon. Other places. At the end of the year, Amor sent an envoy to tell Burhanudin of the fall of Ili. Mongolian soldiers Tuolantai and Teguzi were captured by Burhanudin. In March 1756, West pacifying General Saleng arrived with the Western Route Army to recapture Ili. Amor fled into the Kazakh Khanate as the tables were once again turned on him. Hoji Jan and Burhanudin united the local population in May, then the younger Khoja killed Amor's envoy. Tuolantai defected to the rebel side and was sent to ascertain the strength of the Qing garrison in Ili. Course of events. Hoji Jan's move against the Qing. Hoji Jan sought independence from the Qing regime and told the local clan leaders, "I have just escaped from the slavery of the Dzungas. Now it seems I must surrender to the Qing and pay tribute." Although inferior to ruling the region, working the land and defending the cities is sufficient resistance, Burhanudin was unwilling to take on the Qing army. "We were once disgraced in Dzungaria by the Qing military. Can peace return to our homeland? Only if we do not turn our backs on kindness and avoid fighting." An envoy sent by Hoji Jan then killed Chagatai Khan, descendant and former Yarkand chief. Yike Khoja and Hoji Jan took the title Batur Khan after the founder of the Dzungar Khanate, Herdani Batur. Burhanudin advised against the move. "My younger brother is the third generation of our family to be imprisoned by the Dzungas. The kindness of the Mongolians freed him and he has received further profound grace from the clan chiefs in the Muslim region. You will have to face the King alone and I will not obey you." Hoji Jan persisted with his view and differences arose between the two.